Hi, this is Stephen Bourne with the Rye Civic League. We're on Brackett Road, and we're on the sidewalk because you know how fast people go here. But behind me is one of the old original schools, and we're going to learn a tremendous amount of very interesting things from Alex Herlihy about that school and schools in Rye. So this last month, one of the biggest news was very recently. The Rye Water Department, as you know, we're building a water treatment plant. They hired the person from Portsmouth that put in the PFOAs testing. So they got a local, extremely knowledgeable person to lead that development of the water treatment plant. We paid $14,000 for the state primary, and 70% of residents didn't vote. Only 30% of people showed up and to participate in the party primary we pay for. The schools, the proficiency test from last year's third grade and eighth grade, how they're doing. That was in the school board meeting. That's there. I think everyone should look at it. We pay about $16 million for schools. Are you satisfied with that? Look at the colored numbers. How many kids are not even close to being proficient in some of those areas? The DPW is going to close. If you live by Perkins Road, September 30th to the 11th, they're going to be working on that culvert. You can still get the things from both ends, but that construction's going to be there, the letters attached. Speaking of budget, now's the time to get involved. We've got a link to the schedule of when we meet. The work sessions are really for the select board, the budget committee, but really to understand what's going on, to have any impact in the budgets, now is when those discussions have to happen, not January when we have the public meetings, because no one's going to change anything at that point. The CIP, the capital improvement plans, they met once, they haven't met since, so it's not very likely we're going to have an updated CIP this year. The Save the Rye Harbor, some good news on that. That's been delayed. We've got a link to the letter that the people sent out to everyone to inform about that. If you went to the Jamboree in the 7th and 8th back in September, yeah, they're doing the construction back there. We got some pictures that was very well. They may combine those events next year. You cannot have a detached ADU in town. We don't have the ordinance for that, but the planning board actually approved the first detached ADU. The zoning board said they gave the variances, so the planning board just reviewed it on the attached ADU thing. So that's the first one we have of those. We're doing this during the day. I would not be standing here at sunset or sunrise, dusk or dawn, because Triple E is still bad. They've had some cases. The mosquito commission really is urging people to wear long, not like I'm dressed, but be very cautious of that. And if the issue with the signs, sign ordinances, people not doing it, the select board has walked back from that. It's just to enforce it got too complicated, so they're going to have to come back and address it. All right, so stick around and find out about this school.
Good morning, everybody. I'm standing by the former East School. You'll notice it's built of stone, but we have to go back to the beginning of the history of this school. So at some point, perhaps in the middle of the 1800s, when the other neighborhood schools were built, there was a wooden school here that served the eastern part of Rye. And by the late 1860s, you can read yourself in the town report, there was the only narrative in the town report, which you can read online, the Rye Town reports are all digitized. G.H. Jennis was the school superintendent, and he began to call out the town in his narrative reports. Fascinating stuff. He wasn't concerned about being sued. And he talked about the cheap taxpayers of Rye who are unwilling to repair the school or to replace it. And then in a later one, maybe about 1870 or so, he said, you know, it's at the point now at the East School, in the winter, we're probably going to have a graveyard because the teacher and the students are all freeze to death. So that's how strongly he felt about the decrepit wooden school. Well, later on, they did some repairs. And finally, by 1896, Professor James Parsons, who lived over on Parsons Road, he had a large estate, was a professor at the University of Pennsylvania. He said, okay, I've had it. I'm going to pay for a new school, and this is it. He insisted that it be built of local beach stones, so kids and others got their little wagons, and they hauled the stones from Wallace Sands Beach up here to this location. and the stone school was built. It's not the first time that public buildings have been funded by individuals or private groups. So this was the East School. There was also a brick South School, and there was that was torn down in 2012, demolished, a new house built there. And this, there was the West School still stands, but you wouldn't recognize it. And of course, the Wedgwood School was in Rye Center, burned down in '32. The current Rye School, it's there today, started out grades 1 through 8 in 1934, and then of course became a junior high in '56 when the elementary was built. So all of these schools, of course, then became private homes. So since 1934, that's what this been. It was sold recently, and you can see they're doing a lot of work on it. Looks like they're going to open it up and have a beautiful cathedral ceiling. They're going to rebuild the tower that you would see in the historic pictures of the East School. So all of this will be available for you to read on a new historic sign that will be going up in front of the junior high this fall. Thank you.